Hey there guys, this is Robin Hood, and today I'm bringing you a 2 versus 2 replay in Napoleon Total War. This battle, I'm going to be playing as Britain, my ally Mikenuge is playing as Russia, and our opponents are Cortland and Forca, Portugal, playing as Prussia and Denmark. I don't know who is who because in these replays, back in this game, it doesn't show the player name when you mouse over the units. But anyways, those are our opponents. This is the Homestead map, and this is also a really old replay that I forgot I had. I'm gonna go play some more 1v1s for you all here soon, but I realized I had this, and this is like from around 5 months ago, quite a while back. But anyways, we'll take a look at our armies. I have got some rifles here, 2 of them. I believe I have more, though that might be false. Nope, I've got 3 Lightfoot. They're just not in skirmish formation yet. Then for my main line, I have tons of foot. 6 units of foot there, backed up by 2 foot guards. And then for cavalry, I've got 2 horse guards on my right flank, and my general. Then 1 artillery piece here, a 5-inch howitzer. Although if I recall correctly, this battle I start out by making some really stupid mistakes, and have to work from that point forward. Anyways, here's Mike's army, very similar to mine, kind of 5 skirmishers, all Russian Jaegers up front, 6 musketeer units, one of them's a Moscow musketeer, slightly better unit there. And there those guys are. And then he's got 3 lifeguard afoot backing them up. And for cavalry, he's got some lifeguard Cossacks and a Pavlograd Hussar, I believe that's how that's pronounced. I'm not quite sure there. And of course his general unit as well. I don't believe Mike brought any artillery. And my opponent over here does have a 7-pounder howitzer. He's also got Norwegian ski troops, good skirmishers, and that might be it for his skirmishing, I'm not sure, but Denmark here fielding a ton of line infantry. Several of them across this whole line here, close to 9 I believe. 3. So he's actually got 10 line infantry units. So yeah, definite. Oh, well, one of them's a militia, but fielding quite a large force there. And he's got some lifeguards of horse, 4 of them, and his general. And then Prussia here has some lancers, a hussar unit, 2 of them actually. Several musketeers here, 4 of them, and 4 more on this flank, or 3 more with a grenadier unit, and then 2 grenadier units actually, and several Prussian Fusilier, 2 of them Silesian Schützen, which I cannot pronounce for the life of me, but he's got 2 of those guys as well, and his own artillery piece, a 12-pounder foot artillery. And these guys aren't going to be that effective during this battle, because if you look at this map, definitely a lot of things obstructing the view of the artillery. Howitzers can fire over these hills, those 12-pounder foot artillery cannot. But anyways, we're going to speed this up here for the moment, because it took quite a while in advancing. The mini-map, you can see Mike's kind of advancing in along here. Prussia has kind of an arc set up to receive him, but Mike is not going to let himself just get flanked. I'll show you what he's doing here. He's countering this by moving to the left and turning onto this flank which Prussia has created, and so Prussia is going to have to pull back his troops here to fight this movement by Mike. There's a little bit of a gap forming between Mike and I, and what's going to end up happening here, you can see part of my army's coming over this way. Originally I was going to go help fight Prussia, but what's going to end up happening is something that's very risky to do. I'm going to end up splitting my army and dividing it into 2 halves here, and this is risky because if my opponent decides to fall with enough force and quickly on one of my segments of my army, which in this case would be this one, would be the most practical one because it is isolated without support there, he can destroy it fairly quickly, and then my other half would be a minimal force you know, without the support of each other, he would be able to destroy each side individually rather easily. And this is where I made a mistake. I just kind of left my howitzers here in the open, and I'm trying to pull them back and rush forward these foot guards to block this cavalry charge coming in. I'm turning this foot unit, trying to get shots on this lifeguard of horse, but regardless here, there goes my artillery. So that was a complete waste for me. All of my artillery just died. Sure, I'm going to kill a lifeguard of horse unit, but that's not a very good trade there. The lifeguard of horse cost more, but that artillery is that was just a complete waste, and it takes artillery time to get kills anyways. So that was my first mistake there. Managed to at least get these foot guards into square formation, though. I noticed that a little bit too late. Meanwhile, you can see my army moving more towards the right. I'm going to end up actually sending them far around this flank here, and there they go. Yeah, they're moving back around this way, so I've got cavalry supporting this flank because it is the weaker flank without, over here, obviously, Mike's army is in support. And that's it for those lifeguards. They managed to actually break the square there, and they're doing some decent damage to these foot guards. But they're going to go down here shortly, especially with those foot firing into their back. But yeah, that unit was very effective in its charge. Took out quite a few of my foot guards and, of course, all of my artillery there, which you can see in rubble on the ground. So that was not good for me. But anyways, we're going to speed this up once again. I'll head over here while doing so. You can see it's just a skirmish right now between the Russians and the Prussians here. And in the long run, Mike's going to back off here because the Prussian skirmishers are better. And over here again, I made another similar mistake. I let my light foot run forward, and they are getting caught by cavalry once again. So, like I said, the beginning of this battle, I just made a bunch of stupid mistakes. But this time, it's going to turn out a little bit better. I'm not going to lose all of my light foot. I'll be able to get them back behind my line, and this lifeguard of horse is going to go down without anywhere near as much kills as the other one managed to achieve. You can see them being taken down there as they hit a fully formed square. And so now I'm starting to realize I gotta watch out for this. I've got these Lightfoot moving up. Of course, they are taking flanking fire, but once I move them past this ridge, none of that fire actually will hit them. And they're gonna start firing at these Norwegian ski troops here. This is the first actual musket engagement that my guys are going to be engaged in. Meanwhile, over here, I'm starting to wrap troops around the flank. So these units here are in some trouble. Again, I'm moving up my foot like so, and I'm also moving up a light foot to kind of skirmish with these Prussians just to keep them occupied. And on this flank, pulling some of my cavalry through. Meanwhile, over here, my army, my other wing is set up, and I'm going to start moving forward soon. Those guys are almost all in position. Right here, my men are lining up, and they're about to get a devastating volley into the backs of these line infantry, which is then followed by a charge from my horse guards, and those guys are going to rout, taking fire from all directions, and I've got troops up on this hillside here firing down. So that area just became a little slaughter for the Denmark troops, completely surrounded by fire on all sides there. Of course, his artillery is firing in, but these hills do offer some protection. It makes it hard for the troops to make those shots. So artillery generally isn't that big of a concern on this map. Eventually, of course, over time it will be. But as of right now, not so much. And again, these Prussian skirmishers firing into the hillside. I do not actually have my men returning fire, because I want them to save their ammunition rather than waste it on the hillside there. And I am more than content to let our opponents waste ammo there. You can see Mike is bringing over some musketeers to support in this fight. My men are moving forward. Over on this flank, once again, moving up with a little bit more haste now, because as soon as I get engaged over here, you can see the gap between my armies is quite large. At this point, I am keeping pressure over here, but if my opponent wanted to, they might still be able to single off my one side and destroy it, which is obviously not what I want to happen there. That artillery firing in. The one thing I do have going for me is that my troops are just much better than the Denmark troops. The British line infantry is pretty much the best in the game, and Denmark is one of the lesser factions here. And up there you can barely see the tops of those Russians. So this isn't a very straightforward fight. Now they're moving up to a better shooting position, and these Prussian skirmishers are about to be in trouble here as they take fire from the hillside. And we'll watch the first volley come down on them. And it seems like actually that unit is firing off this direction. Yeah, they should have been a little bit better ordered. I would have given the attack order on these troops here. Right now they're just taking flanking fire. Of course my Lightfoot are up here fighting with these guys, but my Lightfoot are no match for them in a straight shootout there. And these militia starting to go down. My foot infantry moving forward, engaging all of these line infantry here. You can see some of these guys dropping. Meanwhile, over on this flank again, it's still kind of just a standoff. Mike doesn't really want to engage quite yet. He's letting this fight in the center kind of get underway first and see what unfolds here. And my men are starting to kind of break through this little bit of resistance from Denmark. Meanwhile, Denmark's trying to set up a defense against my other flank moving forward here. The only problem is in this fight, I have Lightfoot, and my opponent does not. And over here you can see cavalry charge occurred, got into my rifles a little bit, scored 15 kills, but we managed to take down that cavalry unit. And now my men are going to start moving forward. And skirmisher fire should commence here soon. The Denmark troops back there all lined up. I guess my men aren't quite in range yet. Nope, there they go. So the first shot's dealing some damage there, 9 kills on this unit. But either way, the point is these guys are not returning fire. They are not in range. So for now, just scoring kills on these units, weakening them down. Pretty soon though, I'm going to have to push forward with my infantry just to make sure that I'm keeping pressure up, because over here, these troops of mine, they have been fighting and they are starting to get depleted. I got to make sure I'm keeping strong pressure on both sides. Of course, I've got this other unit of foot coming up behind, and I believe my foot guards, or are they engaged here? There they are, yeah, up on this hillside here. So I'm just trying to keep pressure here, keeping this 1 foot unit in reserve. These Denmark troops, he hasn't noticed them yet, but they are back from routing. They could come back and be on my flank. They're not a big threat, they're fairly depleted, but at the right moment, if I can't turn to fight them, they could be a problem. Either way though, here you can see my skirmishers effectively destroying one unit. I'm gonna start firing on this other one. And still, these troops have not returned fire. I don't know why he didn't withdraw his troops here, which he easily could have. Of course, I could have just kept pressing him. He doesn't really have an answer for it. His cavalry's gone, and these skirmishers are over here engaged. So, really his only option is either to pull back more, which would allow me to move forward and trap him more, or he could have pushed forward. But, of course, my foot are all lined up here and could easily mow down his troops there. So, bad position for Denmark at the moment. Again, over here, these units been fighting for a while now. They've pushed their way across the field. They're starting to take some decently heavy losses, but of course Russia here is supporting Mike there, and these line infantry are starting to go down. Cannot hold against all the British troops in their front. And at this point, Denmark's starting to pull back his lines here. He's turning his men around. I've got cavalry moving around behind him and just kind of hitting different random units. I came over here and rerouted those line infantry units. And this is where things get tricky for a moment. So, and obviously you guys can tell, it's been a while since I've watched this replay. Again, this is a very old replay. But anyways, my guys are moving up here. Prussia decides he needs to do something about this. His ally's dying, so he's sending over 2 musketeer units. And you can see Denmark here, due to me splitting my forces, has now kind of become surrounded. They're trapped in between both sides of my forces. But these Prussians are now directly behind my lines, and I've got enemies to my front as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 2 units and turn around and try to start fighting these musketeers. Mike is rushing over some of his lifeguards onto this flank, and we're going to try to deal with these guys as quickly as possible. I've decided that right now Denmark's less of a threat because I'm pressuring them from the other side, so I'm turning my force around to engage with Prussia, who of course also has some hussars coming over. So in this field, we're shooting across. And my guys are depleted, his units are fresh, but again, just having more units should eventually win this fight from the front, and having these lifeguards of foot on the flank is going to absolutely destroy these Prussian musketeers. And these hussars getting slaughtered in a charge as Mike goes into square formation. Quickly deals with them, fire still coming in on the flank of this musketeer unit, and over here my horse guards did a charge to the front of these musketeers and routed them. So quickly dealt with that threat. Meanwhile over here my other flank now engaged. The only difficulty is that behind us we have Prussian lancers coming in, and I was trying to get my guys to deploy stakes, but it was a little bit too late here. Either way, my rifles are going to go down from this charge. Of course, all of my infantry here, I'm leaving them facing forward because right now I've got a surrounding fire on this line infantry unit. Once these guys fall, I can turn around and easily deal with these lancers. And I'm also watching this just to make sure turn into square when I need to. And there we go, those guys around, I'm turning into square, which will allow my men to, not very effectively, but still keep firing both directions. And I believe I'm going to kill some guys on stakes here. You can see them getting shot down, the rest of them running into the stakes. And so this Lancer unit having a little bit harder time of it. Of course, they are going to get into the back of one of my foot units a little bit, but they're going to be taken down rather quickly. Of course, all of the Denmark troops lying dead here. My British moving forward. And these artillery units now finally routed. The artillery was annoying throughout the battle, but it didn't really do that much. These Lancers here still holding on, even though they're taking fire. The other unit's been routed, though. And there we go. So both my rifle units still alive. This one only with 14 men left, though. But at this point, both sides of my army have met up, and Denmark is destroyed. So now it's Mike's turn to have some fun. He's opening up with a cavalry charge, which, although he's taking losses and I believe even some canister fire, he's moving forward and sweeping across these rifles. And here his cavalry is actually successfully going to get into these cannons, which is nice because on this flat ground here, a direct approach canister fire can be very devastating to the infantry. His rifles also firing into the general staff in the back. His mounted rifles, although only scoring 1 kill there. One after his general. At this point, Prussia realizes what's going on, and he's trying to move forward and make something out of this fight. But at this point, with my force coming over, this battle's pretty much already over. All of Mike's troops fresh. And here my horse guards are harassing the back of this musketeer unit. And those guys are going to go ahead and rout. And I believe he's just trying to charge. These guys getting shot down as they very slowly charge forward. They're being held up by the Russian cavalry there. And over here, yep, this is where the charge made it its farthest. These musketeers making it into the Russian lines. Although then they're routing. Here comes the next wave of blue troops there. These guys are trying to make it into the trees. Getting caught up on these rifles here, and all the Russian troops behind them are going to continue firing in. So that is the end of Prussia. Valiant charge, didn't really achieve much, but an effort nonetheless. These grenadiers in the woods just gonna turn and give up. They watch their brethren die charging this hill, and that is going to be that. Sorry about that. Oh, I don't know why I had to cough there. But, anyways, great game to Mikenuge and to our opponents, Cortland and Forca, Portugal. Now, I need water now, don't know why. But anyways, you can see the stats there. Mike killing 787 and losing 523. I killed 1,286 and lost 755. And our opponents there, Cortland as Prussia, killing 513. And Portugal scoring 632 kills on me. Best units here being my foot units and foot guards. But anyways, old replay. I didn't really remember it that well, but anyways, something for you all to watch. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I'll be doing more 1v1 battles here soon to bring to you in Napoleon Total War. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all next time with more.